Justice is not a show, but some days it feels like the whole city is holding its breath, waiting to see if the law will bend for the powerful. And after more than 40 years on this bench, I can tell you this. The loudest person in the room is usually the one most afraid of the truth. Before we go one step further, tell me, have you ever seen someone so entitled they threaten a judge to his face and still think they'll win? I remember the date like it was pressed into my memory. April 14th, 9:08 a.m., Municipal Courtroom 2B in Providence. The clerk called the next matter and slid the file toward me. Case number 24MC11873. On top it looked small. Speeding, failure to yield, a rear-end crash. The kind of case people think is just a fine and a lecture. Then I saw the injury addendum clipped to the report. I saw the medical note. I saw the victim's statement written in shaky handwriting. And I saw the name of the defendant, Mayor Dominic Falcone. 46 years old, 2 terms in office. The kind of man whose face is on banners at charity dinners and ribbon cuttings. The kind of man people clap for without asking what it costs. When he walked into my courtroom, he didn't look like a man coming to answer for anything. He looked like a man coming to collect. He came in wearing a charcoal designer suit fitted so sharp it looked like it could cut paper. On his wrist was a gold Rolex day date, the kind some people call the president. His belt buckle was Hermes, polished so bright it flashed every time he moved. His shoes were Italian leather, spotless, like he had never walked a real street in his life. Behind him was a lawyer named Calvin Reese, tall and smooth, the kind of attorney who speaks like he's already won. And behind the lawyer were 2 men in matching navy suits with earpieces, like the mayor thought he needed protection from regular people. The mayor didn't sit like everyone else. He leaned back with his arms wide on the bench like he owned it, one ankle resting over the other knee. He looked around the room like he expected someone to thank him for showing up. Then the clerk read the victim's name, Ms. Elena Ruiz, 34 years old, night shift nurse at St. Agnes Hospital, single mother of 2. Her son Mateo had asthma bad enough that the school nurse kept a nebulizer ready. Her daughter Sophia was 6 and still slept with a stuffed rabbit because she got scared at night. Ms. Ruiz sat on the wooden bench with her hands clasped so tight her knuckles went pale. She wore plain black shoes and a cardigan that looked worn at the elbows. No pearls, no watch, just a thin silver cross on a chain. She looked tired in a way money can't fix. When I made eye contact with her, she nodded, small and respectful, like she was asking permission to be taken seriously. The report listed the location, Cranston Street and Magnolia Avenue. Date of incident, April 3rd. Time, 11:26 p.m. I knew the intersection. Tight lanes, fast lights, a place where people raced to beat red. The mayor had been driving a matte black Lamborghini Urus. The officer wrote the speed as 62 miles per hour in a 30 zone. 62. That is not a mistake. That's a choice. The responding officer was Daniel Pike, badge number 317. Arrived 11:29 p.m. First contact on body cam, 11:31 p.m. Officer Pike wrote that he detected the odor of alcohol. Not overwhelming, but present. He wrote that the mayor refused a field sobriety test. He wrote that the mayor demanded to speak to the commissioner and called for his chief of staff. He wrote that the mayor said, "Do you know who I am?" While all that was happening, Ms. Ruiz sat on the curb with blood on her cheek and her wrist bent in a way wrists are not supposed to bend. Her phone screen was cracked. She kept trying to call her mother to say she might not make it home. The ambulance came and she hesitated. Not because she wasn't hurt, because she was afraid of the bill. That one detail stayed with me. She was in pain and still thinking about money. That's the life of working people. They don't just carry injuries, they carry math. In her statement, she wrote that she had been picking up extra shifts to cover the copay on Mateo's inhaler because the price went up. She wrote that she skipped dinner that night because she gave her meal break to a younger nurse who was crying after a patient died. She wrote that she just wanted to get home, kiss her kids, and sleep. Then she saw headlights coming too fast behind her. She thought it might be an emergency vehicle. She moved slightly right to give space, but the Lamborghini swerved around a car and cut into her lane too close. The front corner clipped her rear quarter panel. Her Camry spun. Tires screamed. It hopped the curb and slammed into a bent street sign. Her head hit the window. Her left wrist took the weight. The pain shot up her arm like fire. She wrote, "I heard myself scream, but it didn't sound like me." Her kids weren't in the car, thank God, but she kept saying their names anyway. Matteo, Sophia, Matteo, Sophia, like saying it would keep them safe. That's the kind of mother she is, the kind the world leans on, and the man who hit her sat in my courtroom like her pain was an inconvenience. I tapped my pen once. "Mr. Falcone," I said, calm. "Good morning." He didn't answer right away. He looked around first like he expected cameras. Then he nodded at me, not respectful, not polite, just a nod like I was part of the furniture. His lawyer stepped forward. "Your Honor, Calvin Reese for the defendant." I nodded. "Thank you. Ms. Ruiz, good morning." "Yes, Your Honor," she said, soft. I started the way I always do. "This is a citation and collision matter, but the paperwork includes—"
Buckle up, guys. Today we're going to witness a courtroom drama that proves power doesn't guarantee immunity. April 14th, 9:08 a.m., Municipal Courtroom 2B, Providence. A mayor, decked in designer suits and gold watches, faces a single mother nurse injured in a crash. Her quiet resilience contrasts sharply with his entitled arrogance. The tension builds as he enters like a conqueror, unaware that this day will test not wealth, but accountability.
An injury report, so we're going to treat it seriously. The mayor let out a little laugh, the kind meant to humiliate without being loud. I looked at him. "Do you find something funny, sir?" He shrugged. "I'm surprised I'm even here. This is a waste of everyone's time." I felt the room tighten. People shifted. A court officer by the wall straightened. I said, "In this courtroom, nobody's time is wasted, especially not a person who got hurt." The mayor waved a hand. "Judge, I run a city. I have meetings, budgets, emergencies. I can't sit here listening to a sob story over a fender bender." Ms. Ruiz flinched at the word sob story like someone slapped her. My voice stayed even. "A fender bender at 62 miles per hour? He leaned back. "Allegedly." His lawyer said smoothly, "We plead not responsible. There are inconsistencies in the report, and we believe the other driver may have been distracted." Ms. Ruiz spoke up, trembling but clear. "I wasn't on my phone. I was just trying to get home." The mayor looked right at her and smiled, sharp. "Sure, everyone's an angel when there's money involved." I could see her shame rise, like she was embarrassed to even be injured in public. I leaned forward. "Mr. Falcone, you will address this court respectfully." He leaned forward too. "Respect goes both ways. You should respect what I do for this city." I said, "What you do for the city does not excuse what you do to its people." He smirked. "You know judges get elected too. Elections are expensive." The room went dead quiet, not the normal quiet, the kind that feels like danger. I held my tone steady. "Are you implying something, sir?" He lifted his hands like he was innocent. "I'm just saying, people remember. Careers have seasons." I turned to the officer. "Officer Pike, you're present?" Officer Pike stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "Did you write the report yourself?" "Yes, Your Honor. Submitted at 12:18 a.m. April 4th. "Did the defendant make statements at the scene?" Officer Pike looked down. "Yes, quote, 'If you write me up, you'll be working traffic for the rest of your life.'" End quote. The mayor's smile flickered. I looked at him. This court takes intimidation.
From the moment the clerk read the victim's statement, the courtroom's energy shifted. Ms. Ruiz, exhausted and hurting, described a night of pain and fear, yet still thinking of her children and bills. Officer Pike's report documented the mayor's refusal to cooperate and his attempts to assert power. Each word, each glance, amplified the contrast between her dignity and his bluster, setting the stage for a courtroom clash loaded with moral weight.
Seriously. He shrugged. "Call it what you want. I call it reality. Now I want to challenge you. Don't just listen passively. In your mind, pick a side right now. If you were me, would you let a powerful man talk like that in court, or would you draw a line and risk the backlash?" I asked the clerk to pull the photos, skid marks, a bent sign, the Camry's rear panel crushed like it was punched by something heavy. One photo showed Miss Ruiz's wrist in a temporary splint, fingers swollen, nails painted a faded pink from weeks ago. Nurses don't have time for touch-ups. That small detail told me who she was. I asked her gently, "Ms. Ruiz, how is your wrist now?" "It still hurts," she said. "I can't lift patients. They put me on light duty. I lost my night differential." "How much did you lose per week?" I asked. She hesitated, embarrassed. "About 300. The mayor scoffed. "So she wants my money." I looked at him. "You're not being asked for money right now. You're being asked for accountability." He rolled his eyes. "Accountability. The city loves me." Officer Pike added, "Your Honor, the vehicle was inspected at 1:02 a.m. No mechanical failure, brakes intact, tires intact." The lawyer tried again. "Your Honor, there are still questions about causation." Officer Pike continued, "There is video, city traffic cam at Cranston and Magnolia. Also security footage from Magnolia Market. Evidence tag E4471. The mayor sneered. "I don't consent to being filmed." I said, "Traffic cameras don't need your consent." A few people in the gallery let out quiet laughs. The mayor turned toward them like he was memorizing faces for later. Then I read the medical note. Distal radius fracture, cast, 2 weeks missed work, physical therapy at 6:30 a.m. because it was the only time she could go before her kids' school. The mayor looked bored. I asked him, "Mr. Falcone, do you have anything you want to say about the collision?" He leaned forward. "Yeah, this is political." "Political?" I repeated. "People hate successful men," he said. "They see a Lamborghini and get jealous. They want to punish me for having standards." I let silence sit for a beat. My standard is that a nurse should be able to drive home without getting rammed off the road.
The mayor laughed, shrugged, and dismissed the collision as trivial. But the courtroom didn't miss the arrogance. He mocked the nurse, minimized her injury, and threatened the officer. The judge's firm rebuke cut through the self-assured veneer. With tension mounting, photos, medical reports, and testimony painted a clear picture. This was not a minor incident. Accountability was no longer optional. It was demanded, and the air in the room was electric.
Ruiz stood up then, brave. "Your Honor, I don't want his money. I want him to stop acting like I'm nothing. I was scared. I thought my kids would grow up without me." Her eyes shined, but she fought the tears. "That's what happens when you've had to be tough for too long." The mayor looked at her. "Drama." The room started to turn against him. You could feel it. Even his own men looked uneasy. Officer Pike said, "Your Honor, she reported a call on April 6th at 2:23 a.m. from an unknown number. The caller told her to be smart and take the money. He said if she came to court, her job would hear things. He implied she could lose custody because she works nights." Ms. Ruiz nodded. "I reported it. I was scared." The mayor snapped, "I never called her. I don't know her." Officer Pike said, "The call was traced to a number registered to an administrative account linked to City Hall." The mayor stood fast, chair scraping. "That's a lie." His lawyer whispered, "Sit down, please." The mayor pointed at Officer Pike. "Badge 317, you're finished." Officer Pike didn't move. I leaned forward. "Mr. Falcone, sit down." He didn't. He looked at me and said, "You can't talk to me like that." I said, "Yes, I can. This is my courtroom." He jabbed a finger toward me. "You don't know who you're messing with." Then he said it louder, for everyone. "My donors own half this state. I can have you removed. I can have your pension audited. I can bury you."
Evidence mounted as traffic cam footage and security video were introduced. The mayor's claims of innocence crumbled as Agent Shaw from the FBI confirmed an ongoing investigation into obstruction and misuse of municipal resources. Social media posts mocking the victim surfaced, revealing both humiliation and intent. The courtroom felt the weight of each revelation as power collided with evidence, forcing the mayor to confront the consequences he had long assumed wouldn't apply.
That wasn't bravado anymore. That was a threat. I said, "You are dangerously close to contempt." He laughed. "Close? I'm past it. You want contempt? Here's contempt." Then he spit out the words that told me exactly who he was. "The law is for poor folks and nobodies, not for me." Right then, the case changed. because at 9:19 a.m., the clerk handed me a supplemental filing stamped received at 8:52 a.m. It came from the city ethics office. It requested that the court preserve all recordings due to credible allegations of obstruction. I noticed a man standing near the exit in a plain dark suit, no expression, watching the whole room like he was counting breaths. He wasn't there for a traffic ticket. The mayor saw where my eyes went. His face tightened. I said, "Who is present from that office?" The man stepped forward. "Special Agent Marcus Shaw, FBI, Providence Field Office." The words FBI hit like a hammer. The mayor snapped, "This is municipal court." Agent Shaw stayed calm. "Your Honor, we have an active investigation into misuse of municipal funds, bribery, and obstruction. The defendant's behavior today and his actions after the collision match a pattern." The mayor laughed, forced. "This is a stunt." Agent Shaw held up a folder. "We also have social media evidence time-stamped less than 1 hour after the crash." I said,
The mayor's entitlement reached a peak. He attempted intimidation, threats, and manipulation, but every move was countered with authority. His words rang hollow as the law caught up to his actions. Threats, social media humiliation, and attempts at silencing a victim. The courtroom became a battleground of principle versus privilege, showing just how far arrogance can fall when confronted with integrity and documented truth.
"Proceed." Agent Shaw produced screenshots. At 12:34 a.m. on April 4th, the defendant posted an Instagram story from the verified account Dominic Falcone Official. It shows damage to a matte black Lamborghini and text reading, "Some broke nurse tried to brake check me, can't fix stupid." The story included a poll, "New Urus or Ferrari next?" The post was deleted at 1:12 a.m. but preserved by warrant from Meta. Ms. Ruiz's face fell. It wasn't just anger, it was humiliation, being called broke by the man who injured her. Agent Shaw continued. At 12:41 a.m., a Snapchat video shows the defendant laughing and saying, "This is why you don't let civilians drive near important people." The mayor shouted, "Fake!" Agent Shaw didn't blink. "Preserved by lawful process." Then he added, at 12:58 a.m., a TikTok posted by an account tied to the defendant's campaign media aide used Magnolia Market footage. Caption, "When you're late to your gala, but an NPC wants attention." In comments, the account replied, "She'll take a check and shut up." NPC, like she wasn't human. The mayor turned to me and tried to regain control. "Your Honor, I'm being targeted because I'm successful." I said, "No, you're being confronted because you hurt someone and then mocked her." He sneered, "You like sob stories, that's your brand. You feel sorry for peasants and get internet."
The mayor's fury escalated. Hands slammed on tables. Claims of influence shouted. But the courtroom held. FBI agents coordinated calmly. Deputies positioned, and arrest authorization was presented. The transition from courtroom spectacle to federal action stunned the gallery. This was no ordinary traffic case anymore. It had become a public lesson that power does not excuse intimidation or endangerment.
That claps. Then he looked me dead in the eye and hit me with the class insult. "My family eats at places you could never afford. You're a courthouse employee with a robe. I've got people who clean my driveway who make more than you." I paused. Not because it hurt me. Because he meant every working person in that room. He meant the clerk, the bailiff, the nurse, the officer. He meant anyone who didn't live in his world. I said quietly, "In my courtroom, a man's worth is not measured by his drive."
As handcuffs clicked around his wrists, the mayor's expensive image collapsed into vulnerability. Luxury meant nothing here. Rolex and designer shoes could not protect him. The courtroom witnessed the finality of accountability as authority, dignity, and law overpowered privilege. His desperate last words failed to sway anyone. Every observer, from officers to the victim, felt the gravity. Justice had reached a man who assumed it could be bought.
"Driveway," he snapped. "Spare me the sermon." Agent Shaw spoke again. "Your Honor, there is more. We recovered a draft message saved at 1:06 a.m. on April 4th from a device associated with the defendant's office. It was never sent, but it was saved." The mayor's lawyer went pale. Agent Shaw read it. Quote, "Find out where Nurse Ruiz lives. If she wants to play hero, I'll make sure she loses everything." End quote. Ms. Ruiz covered her mouth. Her shoulders shook.
The nurse exhaled for the first time in weeks, relief washing over her. This moment crystallized the human cost of reckless entitlement. The mayor's threats had failed, and law and integrity had prevailed. Every glance, every sobered acknowledgement, reinforced the stark lesson. No amount of wealth or status permits the mistreatment of ordinary citizens, especially those who uphold society through care and diligence.
The room erupted in murmurs. The bailiff called for order. I looked at the mayor. "Did you write that?" He shouted. "No, planted." Agent Shaw said, "The metadata indicates it was typed under the defendant's authenticated login." The mayor stood again and slammed his hand on the table. "This is your fault," he yelled at me. "You're trying to make a name off me." I said, "You made your own name. You just didn't expect anyone to read it out loud." His lawyer tried. "Your Honor, we request a continuance." I shook my head. "Denied." The mayor's face twisted.
Even as the federal process loomed, the municipal court acted decisively. Maximum allowable penalties for contempt and traffic violations were imposed. But punishment wasn't the only goal. Restoration became central. The mayor would serve in a hospital environment, completing tasks that put him into the world of the woman he humiliated. The sentence reflected not only justice, but empathy, ensuring accountability met consequence in a real, tangible way.
He looked at the door like a man used to walking away from consequences. "I'm leaving." The bailiff stepped forward. "Sir, you need to remain." The mayor snapped. "Don't touch me." I held up my hand. "Hold." Then I looked at the mayor. "If you walk out, you will be held in contempt, and you may be taken into custody." He laughed, loud, ugly. "Taken by who?" He took a step toward the door. Agent Shaw stepped forward, calm. "Dominic Falcone, stop." The mayor turned. "You don't have jurisdiction."
The city ethics commissioner acknowledged the court's action, bridging municipal and federal oversight. Supportive presence reinforced that this was systemic, not isolated. Victim services were arranged, showing a legal process that honors humanity. Every observer in the courtroom saw the alignment of authority and moral responsibility, an example that the law protects dignity, not just property, and that courage in testimony can trigger meaningful justice.
Agent Shaw nodded to two deputies who had been waiting near the side entrance. They moved in, practiced, steady. Agent Shaw said, "We do now." A document was handed forward to me. I read the header, United States District Court, arrest authorization, charges, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and conspiracy to commit bribery. I looked up. "Mr. Falcone, you are now under federal arrest." His face drained like the color got pulled out of him.
In the quiet after the storm, the judge reflected on the day's events, the contrast between human struggle and ostentatious entitlement, the resilience of ordinary citizens, and the courage of law enforcement. The narrative underscored that justice is not performative. It is measured in the protection of dignity, not luxury. Every detail, from wrist splints to luxury watches, told a story of inequality confronted and corrected.
"No," he whispered, then louder. "No, this is insane." He looked around for someone to save him, for a phone call, for a favor, for a miracle. Nobody moved. Agent Shaw said, "Turn around." The mayor backed up. "Do you know who I am?" Agent Shaw said, "I know exactly who you are." The deputies placed his hands behind his back. Click, handcuffs. That sound in a courtroom is final.
The courtroom, now still, held a collective lesson. Wealth and status cannot override principle. Power was challenged, arrogance exposed, and accountability enforced. Justice had spoken loudly and clearly, leaving an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. It was a reminder: society functions when laws defend the vulnerable, and that every individual's dignity matters, regardless of what they wear or drive.
It doesn't care about titles, it doesn't care about donors, it doesn't care about a Hermes belt. The mayor shouted at me, eyes wide. "Say something, you're letting them do this." I leaned forward, voice firm. "You threatened a nurse, you threatened an officer, you threatened this court, and today the law answered you." He tried one last line, desperate. "This city will burn without me."
This was more than a courtroom victory. It was a message. Power is fleeting, but consequences endure. Luxury cannot shield misconduct, and the bravery of a single nurse reminded everyone why law exists. Ordinary people, armed with truth and courage, can force accountability even against the most privileged. The courtroom became a stage for moral triumph, reinforcing the promise that no one stands above the law. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.